I would never do that to you, though. I have too much restraint and discipline and love. So, James Baldwin's roommate back in the days when he was coming of age and living in Greenwich Village was Marlon Brando. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was his roommate in the Village. Yeah, Marlon Brando. Yeah. Yeah, well, he grew up in Harlem. I mean, but then he left out of his place. He went to France. I'm out of here. Uh-huh. But, yeah. All right. So, we're going to do overview tonight of the second section, down by the cross. And then the next 2 weeks, we're going to look in the first half of section 2 and the second half of section 2. And then we'll go from there. Any questions that I like to start this way? Any questions anybody has, not necessarily about the book, but about just anything that's been in your mind, spiritual, biblical, theological? I love answering those questions before I get started. Anybody? Huh? A political one? Okay, take that mic back there so we can hear you on TV. Can they hear me on YouTube now, Samantha? Okay, thank you, Asia. You good? Let's hear this question, political question.
Percolating in my little brain. So do you think that Donald Trump is just being vindictive when he's taking away like Harriet Tubman's, you know, is he just being revengeful because we took down all of the Confederate statues?
Yeah, I mean, he's racist.
I mean, I'm just saying, like...
He's a racist with ultimate power. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the behavior of a racist who is probably the most powerful human being in the world right now, politically, and who's not worried about re-election. So he's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to do what he wants to do. He don't care. And so he's going to say what he wants to say. I mean, he's racist. And he's a punitive, vindictive racist. Right? And he's also super elite. So it's not just race, it's class. Because he don't care about poor white people. So it ain't just about being racist. It's classist. So he doesn't care anything about poor people, period. White, black, Latino, don't matter. But he has a particular penchant for black folk because he is a true American. So you who believes in the American ethos of success, which is rooted in survival of the fittest, the strong survive. Those of you who are struggling, who are poor, this is your fault, you don't work hard enough. They believe that. They actually believe that in the midst of not examining where their wealth comes from. In this country, it's like what myself and Dr. Maurice said last week. You can sit there and try to create distance between yourself and the racist behaviors of even your forebears in the past. But when you try to create the space, make sure you also forfeit the access it created for you, if you're really serious, which they're not going to do that. Forfeit the privilege, forfeit the access. They're not going to do that. So you feel good by saying, well, you know, that was my great-great-great-grandfather. But you reap the benefits of his hate. You stand in it. And you don't have to wrestle through certain realities that people of color in general and black people in particular have to navigate. So So
to respond or to add, I don't really think I think he's racist, but I don't think he's the person making I don't think his values are the reasons why he's doing things. I think he's the puppet. I think there's really people behind him that are telling him what to do, or he owes somebody money, or other things that are that making him do these choices, because when he explains why he's doing certain things or these executive orders, it's never like fully thought out.
Time out. When has a white person with wealth had to think anything out? What are you saying? You giving too much credit. Yes, there are other people around him, and yes, but the way he acts it out, plays his part, is steeped in racism. He's not like, yeah, there are other people, and now you got to question that. Actually, you really have to question to a degree. He has very smart people. Read Project 2025. There's very smart people priming his pump, but but they can't control is his recklessness. There's a recklessness about him that is not controllable. So they're not doing that. I'm thinking about doing 50% more tariffs. That ain't them. That's him. You have a man who is intoxicated with his own arrogance, his ego, and so there may be puppets, watch what I'm saying, who are actually putting the policy, but when he talks, that's him. We talking about the puppets who behind there navigating the policy. When he speaks, that is him.
That's why he resonates with the trailer park.
Well, yeah, he resonates with them, but he's not really, he resonates with them because he speaks from a space of ignorance that people who are ignorant can relate to. See, let me just say this. We are in a cultural moment where ignorance and mediocrity are celebrated. No matter what color you are. And until we address that in our own community, the celebration of ignorance, we gotta, among many things, people in power diabolically attained don't have to really contemplate ignorant proclamations. But people on the underside of culture don't have that privilege in this country. Don't have the privilege. I remember years ago doing some work, just during the Bloomberg administration, and was part of this group that was, I forget what we called it, the MICA clergy, whatever. And I stopped messing with them. Because see, I'm gonna work with you until I'm just like, this is a waste. And I remember there was a white brother there who was gung-ho, he was activist, Peter. And when the stop and frisk was going on and all that stuff, he was like in the meeting, we need to just march, and we march down Fifth Avenue to Bloomberg's townhouse, and we need to just demand. And I said to him, and this was when he and we didn't have a falling out, I could say, but I ain't gonna hold my mouth. I said, let me say, brother. I said, you can do that. I said, I don't have the privilege of marching on the mayor's personal house. I said, your whiteness works in such a way that you don't have to be thoughtful and cautious. Secondly, there's part of your activism that is shaped by white guilt. And I've seen that before. You're a white boy from Mississippi who feel bad about how your folks talked about black people. And now you want to be an ally. I'm not mad at you being an ally, but don't speak recklessly about what we can do. Because we can't do all the things you're talking about. Because if we do those things, we gonna catch them bullets, you not. Right, 1, 2, 3.
So my name is Aaron.
Ooh. Go ahead. The mic work now, we know that now.
So I do a conversation with my nephews on a weekly basis. From anywhere from 3 to 32.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, as black folks from every creed, from the lightest of creed to the darkest of hue. How do we unite together? We come from stolen lands. So even from stolen lands, we were not united. Like in China, that's a united folk.
Wrong. That's a fallacy. Tell me how Chinese are united. Explain that.
They came from one land, one people, one group.
That don't mean they're united.
No. They have their same cultural issues that we do.
Okay.
But they were stronger in their fallacies than we were as Africans in our own lands back then.
Yes, the difference is they're also in a communist country. They're being told they can't have but so more children. Most of their life is regulated by the government. There's a difference. So what you see as unity is actually controlled.
Right, but I'm going to go back further than that.
Okay.
Like when we were stolen from 1800s,
1600s.
16, 17.
Yeah.
When you go, how far you want to go back, we were stolen. We were the only people stolen from any other lands, not like anybody else.
Okay.
Anybody that came to this country, they came freely of their own will on these ships.
Okay.
So as a people, I walk down these streets every day in Harlem. You, different hues, different economic, whatever. And I can barely get a smile from some. And everyone's like want to put their nose up and they think they're better than somebody else. We are no better than nobody else. If you're God's children, understand that fact. Let's work together.
Okay.
That's it.
Tell me, okay.
I know.
No, legitimate. I like this. Name the race that's totally united.
A race?
Can't do it. The myth of unification to accomplish great things is a myth. It's not real. If you can't name the race that's united, don't place that burden on your people because it's not real. In the civil rights movement, only 3% of black churches cooperated. That's a myth. We won't walk. If you watch Eyes on the Prize and all that stuff, you're going to see the same churches. So when you say we have to be unified to accomplish great things, myth. Because I don't even know what that means. So if our introduction to these shores is in an intentional attempt to break up the possibility of unity, how do we get back on these shores to that place? That's intentionality. There's intentionality around the lack of unity. But we've seen great accomplishments in the midst of it, while the general population is not unified. There are moments in history where gatherings of people were unified. So I always want to challenge that, because I hear it all the time, every week. When I'm on the radio show with Sharp, I hear this, we gotta get unified. Well, freeze. Don't over romanticize nostalgic moments by creating narratives that are not true to the reality of those moments. We weren't unified during the civil rights movement.
No, we were divided.
And yet, so the question is it the unification we want or the outcomes we seek connected to desired goals? And do those desired goals necessitate complete unity?
Yes.
They do not, because no race is unified. So I don't want to put some of the most oppressed people in this world to say that to accomplish great things, we got to be on the same page. That ain't happening. So the issue becomes, in this age, why is unity difficult? But the difficulty of unity is not just a black issue. It's across the board. But we don't have the protective measures as some, right? You think white folks sitting around here on the same page? Did you see these protests on this past Saturday? You see how many white folk out there protesting Trump? So there ain't no unity. The problem is, in some spaces, our lack of unity is more penalizing than others. But it's not necessary to accomplish the transformation we seek. So I will say that. So I've been hearing that for a long time. If I sit around thinking we need unity among, I don't even know what that means. Unity among our people. What does that mean? What kind of unity? Economic, social, cultural? We got in our community, we got folk who will look at you. I gotta go deep. We got folk in this community who will look at this church and be like, oh, they going to hell. Because they let anything go. So we gonna unify with them? Now watch this, let me show, now if you want to talk about the trauma inflicted upon black bodies in this country, that there are folk who would sit around and talk about this church and never mention the impact we have in this community. So, as if it's some badge of honor to degrade another place of worship because they don't think like you. You know what I realize among our people sometimes? You know what we terrified of? We ain't terrified of the ideology of whiteness. You know what we terrified of? Freedom. Because when we see free spaces, we attack. I'm telling you, it's very interesting how this dynamic works. In spaces that we perceive there is freedom or ownership, you will see our pathologies. I'm telling you, in the church, that's why the church is jacked up in so many ways. It's not just because of behavior, it's the pathologies. I'm gonna give you an example. Marvin Sapp and the whole lock the doors. Or close the doors, rather. Wait, I don't know what you're talking about. Close the doors. I watch people, and even clergy, because I'm gonna tell you what's a drug. The attention drug is heavy. Who made all these comments. Now let me tell you something. I grew up in church, been in church. Close the doors and offering ain't nothing new. Where'd we get this from? It ain't nothing new. We done heard this for a myriad of reasons. Yeah, close the doors. Like, oh, I can't believe. What? But here's what we do. We copycats. As soon as somebody we all want to chime in, put our comment. First of all, I'm amazed by social media. Why do people think that we are so deeply invested in what they thinking? To the point where we feel we got to comment. I don't care what you think. We are so deeply invested in we feel it's a strength of courage. I'm gonna save my people. Don't nobody care what you think. Why we think so many people care about our comments? Because before social media, we didn't care if people cared. Soon as you get a platform where you can voice your opinion, now you think everybody care about your comment. You know, I just felt I had to say something. Why? Why? Why you feel you had to say something? And it ain't got nothing to do with you. Well, I thought Beyonce's outfit she had on. Who cares? Why you care? You don't have enough going on in your life? You bored? You lonely? You thirsty? Or D, all the above. Like what in the world? But this age gives you this false sense of value connected to people not even seeing you, seeing your characters on the screen. My God, it's a drug. So I'm watching all these people chime in about Marvin Sapp as a folk who grew up in the church. I'm like, y'all frauds. Y'all know y'all been hearing this in church. What are y'all talking about? Marvin Sapp doing that was the least thing we got to worry about. Folk talking about it on radio shows. This is hypocrisy to the highest order. Now we, oh man, this man getting death threats because he said close the doors? What? Man, I need folk to get a hobby. Get a coloring book or something. My God. Like, what are we doing? Why are we so invested? Before there was a time when we would have a conversation, you know, I call you, you saw that thing about Mark, you read that thing about Mark? Notice I said, you read that thing. You read that thing about Mark? And we talk about laugh and move on. Now, we gotta make commentary, then somebody responds to my comment, well, I gotta respond back to that. For what?
It's the new 15 minutes.
It's the new 15 minutes of fame. I was told, you know, I'd rather people think you're not smart, I won't say stupid, then you open your mouth and verify it. Oh, what are you doing? Like, who got that time? I need you to get a hobby. A book? Lord. Did you just curse? You want us to read? You better cut it out. My favorite restaurant, I'm not gonna tell y'all because I don't want to see none of y'all in it. I keep it real. I don't want y'all popping up my favorite spot. Y'all sit around there. I love the company of none of y'all. I love y'all. But y'all ever wonder why y'all ever go out in Harlem and be like, where past that? You ain't gonna see past in Harlem. Not eating. I can't have no peace. So if I wanna eat, I'm not eating in Harlem. I ain't gonna have no peace. I like to eat, focus on my meal, maybe read an article. Pass the mic. No. Huh? Right. Y'all made me forget what I was about to say. See, Mary, it's your fault. So I was like, yeah, but I'm trying to figure out what I was gonna bring about the restaurant. Oh yeah, thank you, Ellis. Appreciate y'all. You know, they gotta help me out now. So my favorite restaurant that I eat, in the fact, my assistant Sharon and others call it my second office because I do meetings there when I'm not here. Like I walk in a restaurant, anywhere you wanna sit. I go there, they know there's 4 things I'm gonna order. They know what drink I'm gonna have. They ready, they see me walk in. But what made my favorite place even better a year ago, they did something that was so moving to me. I got a little emotional. One day I'm so used to walking in there, going through routine, going in, sitting down. I usually sit one of 3 places. And this time I'm sitting by the window and I look out the window. What? Across the street, they opened a bookstore. The level of excitement I had. You mean to tell me I can go to my favorite restaurant, then walk across the street to the bookstore? Oh! Huh? I'm not telling you because then you know what my restaurant is. You think I'm crazy? I don't fall for the okie doke. I've been doing this too long. Burger King. So, Betty, I was excited every time I went to the restaurant, either before or after. Cause bookstores, you put me in the books, all my senses wake up. So I would go there a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago exactly. I walk in, get one of my favorite seats by the window. I don't have to say nothing. The bartender saw me. By the way, I hope nobody's offended by that. If I said the bartender saw me, because too bad. I mean, I don't pretend for nobody. So, yeah, I said don't take your communion to the head, right? But let me tell you real talk. Let me tell you, it's funny. It was funny because when you say things, you don't know who's here. There was a brother who was visiting, and were you there with me, Alice, when he came to me afterwards? Brother came to me afterwards with his communion cup. He said, Pastor, it's my first time. What's in the cup? I was like, brother, you good. I was joking. It's grape juice. But no, he clearly had some, he didn't want to consume it because when he heard what I said, he thought it was like wine. So I was like, nah, I was like, it's grape juice, brother. Sometimes the cup be sitting for a while, so it don't taste like something else. But no. So then I go there 2 weeks ago, get my seat, bartender saw me and said, they bring in my drink, sit down. She said, what we having today? I said, we're gonna do the Branzino. Got Branzino. I looked out, bookstore closed. Gone. Not even a year. I was devastated. But it just reinforced what I know. We don't read no more. We gonna download something. There's a whole generation of young people who read books digitally. Oh, I need to feel the texture of a book. I need to be able, I gotta put notes in. I gotta look at it. Look, I gotta see this. I gotta put my hands on it. It's like the New York Times. I'll read the New York Times digitally except for Sunday. I need the Sunday New York Times in my hand. I got to go through all the sections. I know I'm really interested in the Sunday opinion section, but I got to go through. It's a ritual. I saw this, but I knew it was going to happen because I was like, and it's a small like boutique bookstore that has other chains around. And they had closed one in Philly. So when I went in the first one, to my excitement when I first saw it, I said, man, when I used to go to Philly, I used to go to this. She said, yeah, they closed one in Philly down, and this was replacing the Philly one. They opened it here. I was like, oh, gosh. Gone. Not even a year. In a very high traffic place. Gone. Not a year. We don't read books no more. It gotta be quick articles. They gotta tell you the article, this is a 5-minute read. This is a 4-minute read. This is a 7-minute read. We can't even commit because we all, in some ways, because of the cultural moment, we have ADHD. All of us. We don't think we do. Every one of us. Because we've experienced a rewiring of our brains. Neuroplasticity is real. We're getting used to the quick characters, the sound bites, the quick lines. We can't focus. You ever try to read a book and try to read the whole chapter? Your mind everywhere. You pause, you look at TV, you flip Netflix, you do all these things. Everything is a distracting tool. We can't even focus in. One of the places we focus is why I'm so intentional about what comes out of my mouth is on a Sunday morning in the church. So I don't waste words because it's one of the few moments in the week where we're going to focus in and pay attention to what's in front of us. So I can't be reckless with my words. I told someone the other day, I've been pastoring 29 years. I've never, ever had to get in the pulpit and apologize or explain or recant something I've said because I'm thoughtful about what I say. I've never had to get in a pulpit. I just want to clarify, church, that I was wrong for what I said. No, because if I'm going to utter it, I'm going to stand by it. Never in 29 years, I've never had to do that. Because I'm more thoughtful. Words mean something to me. But they were because I love words. And if you love words, that means you treat them as holy. If the scripture says the power of life and death is in your tongue, why be reckless with your power? So no. That's why I don't like when people thoughtlessly say things. And then you got to keep no, think before you open your mouth because you can't snatch a word back. Right? This is the age we're in. We don't love words anymore. We love images, videos. And nothing's wrong with that, but we are no longer love of words. We have reached, and one writer said, we have reached the terminus of words. Sad. Okay, that's my soapbox. I'm sorry, I'm just here and then back there with Casina.
Good evening, everyone. So to the comment the young lady made, and you backed it up with the fact of being ignorant. I have a few friends in Africa, so while MAGA, or the people of MAGA, think it's Make America Great Again, the Nigerians have the definition of someone who has been tricked or easily scammed or fooled. That's their definition of MAGA if you pronounce it in the Nigerian.
I'm so tempted because I believe in words. When I hear you say that, and who said it?
It's Nigerians.
Yeah, you see how easy it is to fall into a stereotype? Maybe y'all don't understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's a general theme. See, we generalize everything. We stereotype everybody. Because there's a stereotype that will say that we go on this country, you gotta be careful, Nigerians, they scam. Yeah. That's stereotype. We feed into stereotypes all the time.
No, she's saying that's the translation. That's the translation of MAGA in Nigerian.
Yes, but I'm saying we all deal with cultural stereotypes.
Okay.
And that's one of them. So I'm saying, yeah, MAGA, well, no, we all been scammed to a degree. Well, we haven't really been scammed. Here's one thing we got to remember, okay? I want you real quick. We got phones. We got this powerful tool. Look at the election results of 2024. Go ahead. And let me hear the numbers. Let me hear the numbers of how many votes Donald Trump got and how many votes Kamala Harris got.
She won the electoral vote.
No, she did not. Stop that. Pause. Let me tell you something. No, hold on. No. If Kamala Harris won the electoral vote, she'd be president.
No, you said 24. I'm sorry.
24. No, but I didn't say No, let me give her. I want votes. I didn't say electoral college. 75,317,613 for Kamala, and 77,302,500. Okay, so it's not fully 2 million votes. That's how much he won by. Okay? So let's not overstate his victory. I know a win is a win, but let's not overstate his victory. Almost 50-50. Let's not overstate it. It wasn't a blowout. This wasn't a landslide. Right? If you let his supporter, the people of the United States have spoken. No, 77 million have spoken. The people have not spoken. 77 million spoke. So let's not get crazy. The people. We have this was a referendum against no, let's stop. So not like you're about to see this, what's going to happen in the midterms. Let them keep doing this. Watch. You want to see what the landslide look like? Watch the midterms. When the House flipped back. You want to see what it looked like? So, this is your fault, Colorado. You started us with the politics. It's your fault. But no, I think this moment, this is not a time to get angry, to get consumed with worry, right? A friend of mine, let me ask somebody else. A good friend of mine wrote an article in the New York Times. Came out yesterday, or maybe Sunday. Christina Greer. It's a good article, great article in the Times, an opinion piece. And what she basically said is there's some people who supported Trump who are losing their minds now. Oh my God, we didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. I can't believe this. You better. And all this stuff, and here's the deal. And what she basically said, y'all panicking, carrying on. Black folk been here since we got here. This terror you feel, this uncertainty about the future. How does it feel to be me? That's a line, 5 Heartbeats. How's it feel to be beat? Yeah, you look at some folks, how it feel. You concerned about your future? Woo. You worried about your financial status? Woo. You trying to figure out how you gonna make $1 out of 15 cents? Woo. We've been doing this 400 plus years. Welcome to our reality. The problem is you're here for a moment. We've been here for generations. We could teach y'all something if y'all pay attention. How to survive insanity, we've been doing it. How to survive brutality, we've been doing it. How to survive when your being is constantly dehumanized. Y'all talking about the financial markets. How about when your body is viewed as a deficit? Yeah, we've been doing that. So y'all up here panicking. We talking about, yeah, oh Lord, what we gonna do? You know what we gonna tell them? It's Tuesday. It's another Tuesday. Which y'all tripping, oh y'all ain't used to this. Man, stop. So the world is seeing it, but people understand that. We actually, you know what this is about really? Money. Control. We gonna put tariffs because we don't want no more China's electric cars coming to the United States because their electric cars make our electric cars look like trash. We want to tariff China for everything. We want to put America first. The problem is, in order to do that, my brother, you're going to have to build a whole lot of shops and factories. You ain't going to do it. Don't exist. Then you got to also convince these owners of wealth to now cut their bottom line, stop offshoring resources, and come back here with all the regulations. That's why they talk about deregulation, because they want, you can't maintain regulations and then tell the owners of wealth to come and build here because the regulations stop them from making all the money. You kidding me? Y'all Negroes walking the street talking about we want a living wage when I could go over here and pay them 40 cents a day? You think I'm gonna pay you your $20 an hour when I could give somebody 40 cents for the day? And you want me to leave offshoring this manufacturing to now cut my bottom line because you want America to be first again? Well, America first ain't even real to America. It's me first. That's the ethos. America first. No, it's me first. America first would mean everybody wins. You kidding me? When in this country everybody won? See, this narratives we hear, people, yeah. And then today I'm on a radio show. Every Tuesday I do a radio show with Sharpton. And this sister got on there teeing off on immigrants. I can't believe the immigrants, they get treated better than us. You watching the news? What you talking about? They get due process. We don't. You watch the news. A man is in an El Salvadorian jail who was wrongly sent there. He ain't the only one with his wife 8 months pregnant, and they talking about we made a mistake. Oh, by the way, we can't get them back because of the deal we made with the El Salvadorian president. Are you joking? And you talking about they get due process? Ask that sister who should be graduating next month with her PhD from Columbia, and she had to run because ICE came looking for her, and she didn't do nothing. Due process, stop letting them plant a seed that lets you now engage in the old scam of divide and conquer. Now we sitting around here playing oppression Olympics. My oppression better than your oppression not as bad as mine. Now we get around comparing oppression. No, we caught it worse. No, but we got, no. And watch this, we sitting down here arguing oppression, and up here, they kicking both of us in the butt. What are y'all doing? What are we doing? I need somebody to get on CNN and say this. What are y'all doing? Everybody playing politics. Nobody wants to be radical because we want to make sure they call us back, Nakia. Because you got me that gig. Exactly. Yeah, look, I got invited. Let me tell you, I used to get called to MSNBC, CNN, until I realized I can't play no games with y'all. I'm gonna say what I gotta say. Y'all like that. It's not that they don't want you to say it, play your role. Well, hold on. Don't get me started on the Joy Reid thing. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. I didn't see. You see what you just said? Look what you just said. I want you this. Don't tell me you didn't like Joy Reid. This ain't personal. Stop personalizing everything. Yeah, we've been trained like that, but we make too many personal. I had to ask them. I think it's wrong when they do. Watch this, Carlana. Watch this. Somebody called me about the Joy Reid thing. They was going in. A bunch of people actually going about Joy Reid. You want to hear the question? Here goes Z. I was like this. Do you watch Joy Reid? Actually, no. So why you calling me talking about Joy Reid? You jumping on the latest bandwagon. You don't even watch. Now it's the principle. What principle? Why you calling me? You don't even watch it. You defending something you don't even watch. I'm not saying it was a bad show, but the industry ain't moved by likes. They move by ratings. I better get off of that. Let me tell you, Al Sharpton used to be on every day. He was, we don't move to the weekend. Then it was like one day. Come on, man. Like, the TV ain't moved by your personal taste. It's ratings. Come on. Because if I got a lot of viewers, that means increased money in that slot for revenue for the ads. If I ain't got as many viewers, we can't make as much money. And so, we gonna get rid of this one. Who? Oh yeah, it's all ratings. Say that again. Let me ask you, tell me her ratings. Can't do it. Stop. No. If you can't tell me what her average ratings were in the slot, you're operating on pure personal issues. You don't know her ratings. All right, tell me her ratings. No, you didn't answer it. I thought. You really believe that? So watch this. I want you to watch this, Kalada. Your passion is real. I feel it. But it's founded on feelings. The narrative will be, and I like Joy, but when they make a decision, if you think it's, I said, there's other black folk on the TV. Why they ain't gone? It's the ratings game. I'm telling you, I'm just telling you what it is. And your argument gets stronger if you knew what her average rating was. Until, this is why I tell people, it's hard to, you got my desk, I have a purple thermos. Oh no, never mind, it's right here, I got it. So Kalana, let me tell you. So one, you ain't got to worry because this ain't personal. I'm someone who loves to debate. If you haven't noticed, for 20 years. No, Carlotta. So Carlotta, what you've just done. No, what you've just done is you got too personal. You don't want to do that. So let's pause for a second. When you tell me, let's go, you're inviting me to your destruction. No, I want to be clear. No, hold on. Don't invite me into that. No, I'm not inviting you. I simply, pause. You have not, no, don't stand now, don't stand now because I'm your pastor. Stand strong. What are her ratings? You don't know, stop. Because that's what I asked you. And you have not answered it yet. I didn't ask you what they dropped. I asked you what they were. That's what I'm saying. Hold on. But it was my point. You asked me a question. I responded, hold on. And I said, what were her ratings? When you make it about, hold on. When you make it always about race, I'm not negating race. I am who I am. I'm saying that when you make it one side, negating the facts in front of you, you weaken your argument. That's all I'm saying. So my question to you before we engage any further was, do you know what her ratings was? Not because I didn't want to engage you, but I didn't want to engage you on feeling, which we always do. I don't want to vote for Hillary because I don't like her. That's feeling. So when we talk about politics, it has to transcend feeling. So we make informed decision. Also, when we get on the bandwagon, let it be informed and not just feelings. That's all I'm saying. My question to you was to ask, what were her ratings? Because what I'm going to tell you is that the decision wasn't because we don't like what she said. That's a good narrative to get people to now fall in a buy-in. I have nothing against Joy. I already said it. I like Joy. But what I'm saying is, now you know this. Let me show you the deep thing. Let me show you. This is. I love this. I've never seen you like this. I love this. So I love this. There's never a time in my adult life where arguing bothered me. So hold on. I'm not asking about you. I'm just saying, that don't mean anything to me. I could argue with my mama. I don't care if we're 2 days apart. What I'm telling you is, no, we would never argue all the time. We would never do that. You know why we would never do that? You know why we would never do that all the time? Tell me the other times we've done it. We wouldn't. So all I ask you, I want you to hear it. All I ask you is one question. Now, because when we get our feelings involved, when our feelings get involved, we don't respond. This is good, actually. You see this? This is all you have to do. Look it up. But you chose to argue me down instead of looking up the fact. So how do I debate someone on feelings? Because that's not a debate. That's not even an argument. On feelings, I want facts. I simply said, what were her ratings? Because if she had the highest ratings, then your argument becomes justified. I ain't say, do we like her? I ain't asked, do we like what Joy says? I simply said the ratings. Because I want you to understand this. Controversy sells in 2025. So if you think what she said was problematic, you ain't in this moment. Controversy, if you create controversy, boy, they love that. That builds ratings. Controversy builds ratings. So you see some people on TV, like, how they got a show? Because they say outlandish things, and people tune in. Let me give you an example. In the old Fox, before his own downfall, I didn't like Bill O'Reilly. In fact, I went on Bill O'Reilly's show and made him go to a break. Let's take a break. Brother, I don't care who you are. You ain't gonna debate me. I don't care if it's your show. In my mind, you can never beat me. And talking about him, people love Bill O'Reilly. Why? Because he was such a great journalist. He was controversial. And controversy, what does it do? What does it sell, though, on TV? Ads. Ratings go, when the ratings are high, the higher dollar, come on, Z. When your ratings are high, then them commercials during your show, them prices change. They change. And I got somebody here who could tell you how it worked. Oh, Hold on, give me the mic. See, where the mic at? Hold on, I'm gonna come back to Christina. I'm gonna come back there because I want this is a public. I need y'all to hear what she just said. Say that to the kid. I want you to hear what she just said. Because this is where you get down to the fact of it. What did you just say? Hold on, turn the mic on. Go on now. What's now push it up. Lights on. Okay, go ahead.
I was pointing out the fact that Trump actually saved print media. So prior to his election, print media, as you may or may not have paid attention to, magazines were ending, print newspapers were ending, and once election started, he saved the New York Times for certain. And I think for example, if you all pay attention to when there is weather, there's a storm coming. Every storm, it's the biggest storm, and your house is going to be washed away, not because that's actually what the meteorologist is saying, but it's going to keep you on that station. And I think it would be useful if all of us paid attention to the way that the media manipulates, so that we don't always default to race or default to the most obvious thing. Because Joy Reid's ratings dropped, but so did so many others. And it happened around September, then it picked back up. So if we understood the mechanism of media, we'd be able to be a lot more discriminating when we make comments or when we gauge what's happening when we do have black journalists or personalities, because we understand the machine. If you are controversial, they're going to keep you on. Don Lemon didn't leave CNN because Don Lemon wasn't a good journalist or wasn't it. It's always, but there are instances where if you have a Jeff Bezos that comes and he buys the
Washington Post,
there are things that, but ultimately it would benefit us all if we just learn media so that we could understand the way that we're being manipulated. CNN and MSNBC is no different than Fox. It's
Thank you.
Concentrated, sanitized media, but it speaks to a targeted audience, and so that way we're not manipulated in that way. So that's
Thank you. See, thank you for that. I'm gonna get you your own mic when I'm teaching TNT. It's right there. But this is my point. We often move by emotion, and then we go for the easiest common denominator of where there's consensus, right? So when Joy Reid was going, we had this rallying for Joy Reid in this moment. Now, mind you, we didn't see the same kind of rallying for Melissa Harris Perry, because the time was different, and her journalism was quite different than Joy. But now in this, uber fixation in this moment, everybody around Joy Reid, and they had, let me tell you the crazy thing. Then all of a sudden, her last show, then people's like, well, look at the ratings now. Pause. Those ain't the regular ratings. So we're not moved by that. That's why I introduced and asked you about the ratings, because when you move off emotion, as Nakia said, without understanding how the machine works, let me tell you, people who are about money care about money. And the bottom line, they don't care. They don't care, it's money. When you had, at one point in our music history, in hip hop, when you've had men denigrating women in music, they had no conscience. It was money. We sit around talking about something, I hate the black man, the misogyny. They don't care about that. They care about money. That's why they're gonna still pump out that music. So we have to make, I'm gonna say what I'm saying, informed, enlightened decisions, not let our emotions take over because you like somebody. That ain't the world we in. Decisions ain't made because I like them or decisions are not made that way. It's a different moment. So that's why I simply said, do you know her ratings? Because if you're not comparing ratings in different slots, you will think you got to create a narrative why they got rid of her. And the narrative makes sense because you just said it's the easy one. Oh, she black, she a black woman speaking out. Hold on. I got no problem with a black woman speaking out. But from the company side, they're looking at the ratings. So you might have liked Joy Reid. I like Joy Reid. The problem was a lot of people didn't watch Joy Reid. Even some of the people who liked Joy Reid, it was prime time, didn't watch Joy Reid. You know, I made a decision not to watch Morning Joe anymore because of that foolishness. But you know what? Michael's decision not to watch didn't even hurt Joe Scarborough. Because I'm gonna tell you what, if Joe and Mika had taken the plunge in the ratings, you know what happened? Gone. I'm telling you, it ain't because they white, it been gone. So those are the things. So that's what I always say. My thing is that we can't move off of emotion. We have to make sure our decisions and our actions are informed and just simply raising a question. So in debating, for example, you know, it's like I have conversations with people all the time about law, and people are like, well, I just think it's wrong. Man, law don't look at what you think is wrong. Law looks at the law and facts. And so when you debate, in debating, you're debating facts, not feelings. So when I say debate, debate to me is not arguing. It's different. You can argue irrationally with people. When I debate, I'm debating facts. So as you introduce your thing, I simply raise the question on fact. You said, you know, you don't think Joy Reid, because they was mad because he was saying things that they didn't like? When do people who like money have a problem with controversy? Yeah, like, no, it can't be that. It can't be that. It was the ratings. I just told you, I started my statement by saying there were people who were asking me about Joy Reid, and I asked them, do you watch Joy Reid? No. Why are you calling me? Because you could have helped sister by watching her. You ain't gonna help her now by trying to rally the troops. You should have been getting folk for the past year to watch her if you was actually paying attention to the slide of her ratings. You don't rally when she going, you rally while she fighting. Now, there wasn't no thing, hey y'all, I'm noticing the Joy Reid's ratings are dropping, we need to start watching Joy Reid. No, that would require too much. You'd have had to look up ratings. You like her. That ain't how it worked. That ain't how it worked. So this is the world we're in, where we find, this is part of the world though. You have this idea of people, everybody believes that their opinions are facts. And then when you try to counter facts, and it's like, oh, because I can't debate you on opinion or feeling. I can debate you on facts. So if you would have said, oh, her ratings were boom, 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 now we going. We going now. Not going arguing, but going having a legitimate, informed debate. But I don't debate off feelings. So my energy went up. It's because I just simply asked the question. That all the time spent countering me could have been spent looking it up. And then we could have had a different kind of conversation. This is the age we're in. Huh? That's not cheating. How is it cheating? Is reading a book cheating? How is that cheating? That's not cheating. How is that cheating? But how is that cheating? That's like telling me research is cheating. That's data. That's not cheating. It ain't easy because you didn't do it. So you don't like the easy. I don't know, but it's not that easy. But it's not about, see, there it is, that's the ego now. It's not about smarter than that. You know how many times a day I ask questions of that? I know I'm pretty smart, but here's the thing. Here's what you gotta understand. I think I'm brilliant. But here's the thing. I don't know everything. Which means if I don't know it, it's not cheating if I look it out. It's actually smart. No, it would have helped you. But it would have helped your point. Hold on. It would have helped your point. No, it would have helped your point. You even now, you're creating a narrative as why you didn't have to look it up. I want you to see what's happening. So you're still creating a narrative to justify why you didn't look it up. Even if I did, it wouldn't help. Yes, it really would have. I'm that dude. It's clear that I said it because I looked it up. That's all I'm saying. This is actually good. Say that again. Hold on, pause for a second, brother. Pause. Say that again. In her time slot. So what I'm saying is that this is not when you create a narrative, hold on, when you create a narrative outside of the fact, it begs for different things. We can't argue that, but here it is. Let me go back to this so we have a night. Because you see what I'm saying? I want you to understand this. This is actually, for me, this is teaching as well.
Yes.
This is all part of the experience. It's part of the experience because these are the things that happen all the time in our community when it comes to having conversations and debates. Most of the time when we're debating feelings and opinions. Based on what we hear or based on what we feel, but that's not where the debate is had. If you come up here and say to me, you're not gonna find an argument, Donald Trump crazy. I ain't gonna argue with you crazy. But if you want to prove his political insanity, then I want to give you some specific things that are happening that he's doing and the global impact or the domestic impact. So that's different. I could get with all this stuff, but there's some arguments that we jump on because, as Nakia said, the easiest thing to jump on is when we racialize everything. And this is a culture where we racialize everything. For example, the racialization of compassion. We racialize compassion. What do you mean? Who in here is over 40? Over 40. All right. Over 45. There we go. In the 80s and 90s, watch this. Crackhead. Welfare queen. That is the creation of narratives not steeped in fact, but those narratives drive public opinion. So crackhead, right? Let's take that. You racialize compassion and you say, you know, them crackheads, they need to go to jail. So then you criminalize sickness for certain people. And you create a narrative. Is Dawn still here? Oh, you saw her? Oh, not, come on now. Is our Dawn still here? Deshaun, you got Dawn's info? Hold on, you got Dawn's info? Call, if she's not here, call Dawn and tell her to turn the fan off. Because we about to pass out. So, she's gone? Okay, he'll call her. So, watch this. Fast forward 30 years, 30 plus years. Watch this now. In my PR person, watch this, Nakia. We have an opioid crisis in the country. And these people need rehabilitation. And we need, as a country, we need to solve and bring healing to this sickness. So I went on the PBS show, I can't remember the name of the show, and on the news hour, it's Jim Lair, I think. And I wrote an article in the Huffington Post about this racialization of compassion. I said, how is it that in the 80s, in the early 90s, we criminalized this same sickness that now, at that time I heard the former governor of New Jersey, we need to bring healing. These people need healing and help because the opioid crisis impacted middle white America. Same issue. But now we criminalize black folk, compassion for middle America white folk. That's racialized compassion.
And now that herb is legal.
Yeah.
That's white drug dealers.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Priced it out.
Yeah, you go on and on with that. So just understand, narratives are created, good and bad, white and black, just because more than white and black, for all agendas, right? We gotta be careful, because in the public sphere, although it might seem like opinions mask as facts now and facts get dismissed, it's still about facts for me. I ain't moved by that feeling stuff, because that feeling stuff is what gets people in churches saying, oh, they going to hell. Yep. And this person is an abomination. That feeling stuff, well, they're subhuman. Yeah. Black folk are not really human. Right. We have look at the lie. We got scientific data that says black people are genetically inferior. Lying. Okay. This is why, y'all ready for this move? Dawn, you ready? This is why James Baldwin is so good.
That's a segue.
You see it? You see it? You see it? You see it? First, let me answer Cassina's question, and then we'll last 20 minutes, because this is actually helpful. I think these conversations, it's Tuesday Night Transformation. I know we got Baldwin, but sometimes it's hard to avoid the current events.
That's true.
You gotta be willing to engage the current events of what's going on, because we're all touched by it. We look on TikTok, you know, where there's videos, you know, of angels on a horse running in the clouds, and people are like, oh, you know that ain't real? Right? You know, Tupac back a month ago. He's still alive and he's 53. I saw the video. Like, this is the age we in. So you gotta be able to really ask first, second, and third level questions, because some of the stuff is really outlandish. And the reason why some of the stuff works so well, because it actually touches on issues that are close to us, right? When Kamala ran for president, I supported Kamala Harris. I went to meetings, a few with her advisors, her brother-in-law. And my only concern, my biggest concern, I had numerous conversations, I was concerned about her winning. Why? But because it was numbers. Politics is numbers. It's not personality. And numbers are what drive politics. When Joe Biden won, because I want you to understand, Trump actually pretty much, he got a little bit more, but he held his numbers for the most. He got about 2-point-something million more votes, but he held his numbers. My concern was that in order to beat him in 2020, it took the greatest turnout of votes in the history of presidential elections to beat someone who should have obviously been viewed as a charlatan. This man was talking about injecting bleach into your body to get rid of COVID. Or maybe we could just use some infrared rays. Like, his level of stupidity was amazing. He resonates with so many, and I'm not saying this to be funny, with so many people because of the profound ignorance that comes out of his mouth. How is he one of them with his border school and Ivy League education? Who now, mind you, y'all want to see this? Name the schools, the Ivy League schools he attacked. Columbia, Princeton. Did UPenn get attacked yet? That's where he went to school. Like, he's petty. No, of course not. That's what I said, UPenn. He ain't there. Like, this is a petty, small man who's not very bright, who started on third base and criticizing us, who on first. You ain't worked hard. You got a loan from your daddy. You ain't never worked hard. There's this scene from Scandal I see now hot on TikTok when Daddy Pope was going off on Fitz and was like, you are a boy. Your daddy did everything. You were protected by your daddy's wealth. You ain't a mature human being. You've never had to be mature. He like a child walking around eating McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. You a child. Like, this dude is not real. The problem is he won. But when you look at those numbers, my concern with Kamala was, what motivated that win? Can I tell you something? If there's no pandemic, Trump won again in 2020. If you get rid of the pandemic, that man win again. The pandemic was why he lost. Hard to fight when 1 million plus people dying. And then you saying craziness. So if you take out the pandemic, you know what you get? 2024. That's what you get. And then if you face the reality of the profound ignorance in our community, which we don't want to talk about, when you get on TV a group of black women on CNN, you know, I got my doubts with Kamala. I don't think she's smart enough. What she need to do? What does she need to do to prove she's smart enough? Did they give her the degree? I missed that line. They were giving out law degrees, giving out bachelor's degrees. And yeah, right. And she not, well, she don't have experience. Huh? DA, she ran for it. State Attorney General, she ran for it. U.S. Senate, she ran for it. Vice President, they ran for it. Nobody gave her anything. To put black people on TV and say she doesn't have enough experience, what you wanted? Oh, my bad, he does. He got it all. I mean, I guess if you count The Apprentice. You understand what we dealing with? They got our folk to get on TV and say this, right? You know, and then watch this, they're gonna pit it. You know, they're gonna pit black men against black women, and we fall for all the time. We on there fighting.
See, that's our downfall. I feel like that's always been our downfall. Like, that's a unity thing.
Yeah.
That's been like our downfall, because we see everybody else kind of working together.
No, I'm gonna do you like I did him. That's not true. They do not, we do not see everybody else working together. That is myth. It is not true. Who you see working together? Tell me who it is. You don't. We say that. It's a consistent theme for us. When we look at our disunity, we say, well, we see everybody else unified. Who's everybody else? Where they at? Show me where they at. Who is it? Native Americans? Who's Latinos? Who unified? Nobody. We can't even prove that. What do you mean they together? They together? Who? Surely you're not saying white folk. Who's together? That's what we, watch this, brother. When we say that, you know what we actually doing? We deepening our angst against ourselves. Because we now creating a different narrative that says somehow we're less than. Because everybody else unified, we not. Stop that. No, they not. That's a myth.
I feel like I'm not going to say we training that to give an excuse for it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like growing up, that was always been our excuse. So like, I feel like when we lacking something, that's been our excuse.
What?
As far as like seeing the unity thing.
Yeah, that is our excuse. But here it is. I'm not going to negate this. What I will say in this is such a good conversation. What I will say in defense of my people, will say this, in the United States of America, I don't compare oppression. But I will say there's nobody more traumatized than black people.
I think that's our fear. Like, so moving forward, I feel like that's been our fear. So, like,
No, take the mic. It's not, he said it's our fear. No, it's, hold on, I'm gonna give you the tools, because I like you, brother. No, I really do, because you're saying some good stuff. The intentionality that was created to maintain disunity from the gate of our introduction to these shores, the intentional creation of disunity is generational, right? So that our trauma wreaks havoc on us generationally in ways that some other groups on these shores outside of Native Americans, right, can't process. Like, when you go down to the Lynching Museum in Alabama, if you've never been, who's been? Boy, say that on that microphone. You got the microphone? Say what you just said. No, say that. Say what you just said to me.
I never knew that we had a lynching museum.
Thank you. Pause. He said, I never knew we had a lynching museum.
I never knew that we had like a lynching museum.
That's my point. Not your fault.
Like, I thought we had it ourselves, but like,
It is. But the point, it is in Montgomery, Alabama. The point is, when you go to that museum and you see the randomness of brutality, design, it's an old playbook. You go back to the Roman Empire. It's an old playbook. You strike terror and fear, right? So watch this. Let me just show you. Let me just, 1, 2, 3, 4, rough estimate. 5, say there's 25, 30 people here, right? Right? This is the group. I'm the overseer. I've been given wide permission to do whatever I need to do to keep y'all in check, right? So I take Certina here, and this is too graphic, y'all could tell me, but it's our experience. Here goes Certina pregnant. Y'all act like y'all want to jump me. Boy, when we get that overseer in the field, we gonna catch him and get him off that horse. And I get wind that y'all got a plan. I'm gonna take Certina, and I'm gonna pull this knife I got out. And I'm gonna tie her to this tree and make sure y'all all watch it. And I'm gonna take that knife and gut her from here to here. Snatch that baby out of her, and then bash that child up against the very tree. And then say to all of y'all try this again. Do this again. Talk about it again. Right? You see that? That's intentional. Because at that moment, you ain't thinking about the fact that I got one knife and it's 30 of y'all. You thinking, I don't want to be Certina. Think about what happened on those planes in 9/11. Look at the reports. Man took a box cutter and slit the throat of the flight attendant from ear to ear, killed another one, and we sitting there. Because what we forget is that fear paralyzes you. Because you would say, because I hear people say, boy, I wish I was on that plane. No, you don't.
I ain't my asshole.
Yeah, I ain't my, that's disrespectful. When I hear that, this ain't my grandmother's civil rights. Y'all better shut up. Y'all wish it was your grandmother's civil rights. They got stuff done. You just loud. And can't show me nothing. Where your fruit? You don't get no credit with grandma because y'all marched for 3 days and then went shopping. You don't get no credit with grandma because you was loud. Y'all went viral with your video. You don't get no credit with grandma because in 1 year you got money that disappeared 4 years later and the jobs were created because of your march. You get no credit with grandma because grandma and them understood what it meant to be strategic, intentional, and planning. So when you say this ain't our grandmother's right, you're right, it ain't. Don't say it like yours is better, because I ain't see the law you got passed yet. I ain't see the material change for the plight of my people because y'all got mad and went viral on social media. Don't disrespect grandma and them like that. That's insanity to say that. You right, it ain't your grandmother's civil right, because they had real fights and got things done. But don't discount this trauma. And it's the kind of trauma that happens all the time. They ain't just start trauma with George Floyd and Trayvon Martin. This is trauma that's been going on. Took Native Americans and put them in concentration camps. Oh, my bad, reservations. Like, we ain't watching. But while Native Americans, brothers and sisters, and reservations, we sit here talking about, but our oppression was worse. Do you understand what could happen? Oh, yes. See, if you know history, that's the problem. Oklahoma. Before Oklahoma became a state, it was a territory. And they had in this territory, land that you could access. And let me tell you what happened in the state of Oklahoma. When all the Native Americans got relegated, black folk started going to Indian territory because they thought it was free. And Native Americans in this Indian territory, when they saw black folk coming, wasn't like, no, this is ours. They was like, nah, come on. You had black folk amassing land, 40 acres here, because it was open territory, which you claim was yours, right? And then it got too good. If you ever watched the movie on the Native American side, if you've never watched it, because we don't watch it because it was too long, Flowers of the Killer Moon. I got you beat 3 times. Flowers of the Killer Moon. A story that if you watch it or read it, you would think it was fiction. That they took some Native Americans, relegated them to this property in Oklahoma, this territory, this y'all, because they thought it was trash. And then them Native Americans found something one day called black gold, oil. And all of a sudden, in Oklahoma, in the early 1900s and the 1920s, that's what you need to understand. Wow, because this is before this, because my point to the other story with Native Americans and black folk, the point was that it was free territory. You know how they killed it? We should fight for statehood. And with statehood comes the bureaucracy of government, and snatched all that land back. Now, while you got the Tulsa massacre going on, and we all heard about it a few years ago, do you understand that the story of Flowers of the Killer Moon was happening in the same state on the other side? While black folk were being massacred, Native Americans had white folk as maids and drivers and butlers and nannies, because they were super wealthy. And what they did is set up trustees to manage the money for Native Americans. So if I'm worth $3 million, I had to go to trustees to get my money out. Now they can't stop it, but they managing my access to my wealth. They did this for Native Americans. And then they got smart. I said, wait a minute. If they die, the money goes to the trustees, or the white folk. So they started poisoning the Native Americans. But do you understand that on one side of the state, black folk are being massacred for their wealth and what they, because that's what it really was, jealousy. You relegate us to this area, we're gonna turn that into power. And then it was like Rosewood. Remember the movie Rosewood? You remember that movie when there was that one scene when the white guy on the porch said, why they got a piano? I ain't got no piano. And the other white guy said, you don't even know how to play the piano. He said, that's not the point, I don't have one. Because you understand, when they created a system for you not to get nothing, when you get something, they get mad about what you got. All this is history. Why you think they working so hard to stop it, to kill history? Do you understand? They keep telling you what the strength is. They keep telling you. They would love to get rid of that museum in DC. They want to get rid of it. Now the director of it just went on an indefinite leave of the museum, right the week after Trump start targeting the Smithsonian. Do you understand? These people crazy. They want sanitized history that doesn't highlight facts. But we're in an age where facts don't matter. Yeah, go ahead with the question. This is so good, by the way.
What if we, like, they don't, like, in school they never taught us, like, if we, like, fought back or gave us, like, that one moment we fought back. What if we would have stood up and, like, fought back, like, the way they was aggressive with us? What if we turned out aggressive like that?
Yeah, we did. We had isolated incidents, different. There was micro insurrections, and then there were real insurrections. The micro insurrections like micro racial aggression now, right? Small moments, you know. Sometimes it took a woman or a man who was preparing the food, you know, urinating the food. Yeah, let them eat this. We would do stuff like that. Real talk. That's what we had to do. Like, that was our way. But you got to remember, right? We are not the manufacturer of the weapons. Right? So if we had an insurrection on the plantation and we sitting there with picks and axes, they got 12 guns. All they got to do is shoot about 10. It's the psychological warfare. It is the brutality that we're not familiar with on that degree. So in those days, the reason why I love this brother, because here's a young brother asking that, but again, that's what they want to take out. They didn't want you to know about Nat Turner or Denmark Vesey. You know what they did to Nat Turner? He had he killed some white folk. Man, he said God showed him in a dream, in a vision, kill them all. Men, women, children, just kill them. He mounted this attack, didn't last long. But you know what they did when they caught him? They skinned him, quartered him. You know what I mean? They cut him in pieces, sent pieces of him to different plantations. And some say, which I tend to believe, they ate some of him. But what I'm saying, the point is, if you on a plantation and they sent you Nat Turner's foot, and the master kept that foot. Y'all heard of Nat? And he tried, this is his foot we got here. Look at this foot rot. That's what we do to y'all. Or, you know where picnic come from, right? Yeah. Yeah. But it's a little bit different because it is the celebration of brutality. It is feasting around blood. You got your kids out there clapping and laughing while they sit there and castrate a man while he's alive. Take his testicles and his penis and put them in his mouth. Nah, then while he's sitting there bleeding out and choking on his own penis and testicle, Then they burn him in front of everybody, alive. Man, that's not human. That's not you. For their entertainment. Yeah, all that stuff. That's why James Baldwin said, to hell with what they think. I can't spend my life trying to figure out how they view me or concern. I know how they view me. If you want people in mass to see you and honor, it ain't gonna happen. Don't waste your energy. Instead, take that sanctified energy and invest it in your people. Go further. Here's where James Baldwin is fierce, right? Even the way you use religion is a sign of your oppression. The way we engage religion, we use religion as a punitive tool the way it was used on us. Oh, all that, brother. So we don't even come to religion out of this craving of liberation. That's why I said at the beginning of this, we scared of freedom. We come to it to reinforce the systems of oppression that we are familiar with. Because at the end of the day, it is not always freedom we want, but it's the same power that oppressed us we want. That's what religion has done. So you now go from being the oppressed, so now you sitting around trying to find ways to exclude people. You think the best way access point to your power is to use religion as a tool for manipulation, oppression, and domination that you, the oppressed, now inflict on your own people and then say, that's in Jesus' name. That's why he had a problem with organized religion. It was a tool of oppression in the hands of the oppressed people. That's why even our religion is a reflection of imperialistic tendencies. So you sitting in church, right? Manipulating folk. Using the Bible to control the way it was used on you. Setting up a system where you now determine you judge and jury, and now you condemning folk to hell and whatnot. Why? Watch this. We now, if you understood the history of why black folk dress up on Sundays, you would wear jeans too. If you understood that, and now you got folks sitting around, well, I can't go to that church because they be in there wearing jeans, the preacher wear jeans. You got to give the Lord your best. Yeah? Where putting on your Sunday best come from? Where? Working where? No, I want you to be clear. Working on a plantation. Free labor. Slaves. Enslaved people.
Right. Only time we had a chance to dress up and look good was when we went to church on Sunday.
No. Let's keep it real. You in the head.
Okay.
When they took us with them to church and had to be relegated to the balcony, but because they wanted their slaves to look domesticated. So you perform this on a Sunday by bringing your slaves and letting them dress up that one day to go to church in front of your God, because they ain't my God. That's where it comes from. And somehow we now took all of that. Watch this. And now when somebody comes in some church, we look at them funny because they ain't dressed right. That ain't what you offer the Lord. Really? Really? God is concerned about your haberdashery. This is deep, man. But if you don't know this, why do you think they fighting so hard to stop you from accessing it, from learning it? Because if you understood the origins of some of our behaviors, you would intentionally try to break the behavior. No, there's no such thing as slavery. We were indentured servants. That was a life choice. That was a lifestyle choice. We chose to be servants.
I just want to ask you a question. when you went back and you said, name a group that sticks together, what about the Jews?
Negative. Are you joking me? Do you, watch this, watch this, watch this. Because our country doesn't specialize in foreign policy and showing you what's going on in other countries, you would think that everybody in Israel supports Netanyahu.
No.
There are daily protests in Israel against the government.
I was talking about the United States.
I'm gonna say the same thing. That's myth. That's myth, bro.
Okay.
That's a myth. We keep pointing to, well, Jewish people, yeah, there's something, but they're not, we romanticize everybody but ourselves. That's self-degrading. Oh no, everybody else unified but us. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's just a lie. And we keep doing that. So I wish we could get together. What do you mean get together? It was set up so we couldn't be together. That crab in the barrel syndrome, that's not accidental. If I elevate, hold on. Watch this. If I'm treating y'all all like crap, and I take Deshaun, and I take Robin, and I take Christina, and I say, you know what? Y'all been good. Come on out them fields. We're gonna take you to the big house. And we're gonna put on Master's hand-me-downs on you. You ain't gotta sit out there and all them calluses on your hand, you ain't gonna worry about that no more. You just come in here and take care. We're only gonna take 3 of y'all. Now, I parade the 3 of y'all outside with y'all nice garments on, and Master give y'all a little bit more of the good food, and you sit there and keep the clothes, and you cook the food, and now here we are in the fields catching hell all day. But y'all 3 sitting up there living good. Now we're not going to critique Master and his technique. We're going to say, who does Deshaun think he is? He think he better than us. That's an intentional strategy. So what does that lead to? Inherent disunity. Why? Because then Christine, Deshaun, and Robin get wind. Carlos, Christina, and Kelly plotting to rise up. And they find out. And Deshaun is thinking, if these Negroes raise up, they gonna mess up my good situation. Massa been good to me. They ain't about to mess up my extra cornbread. Massa, Carlos, and Kelly, and Casina, they plotting. And then here I go. They showing you's a good nigga. Because Deshaun don't want to mess up that outfit he had that Master gave him last week. He feel bigger and better than the rest of us. That's not accidental. That's intentional. Now, here it is. Now, generations later, you know what we're talking about? Field versus house.
Yep.
You think that's accident? Right? But now we got it. We want to erase all of that. Everybody was so happy on the plantation. Now you got folk saying that black folk owe them reparations for the end of slavery. They messed up our money. They owe us. This is insane. But we ain't putting up a fight against that. Right? Are we too busy? Talking about, well, not even Martin. We too busy talking about, with the video, here it is. Brother, where you get them shoes from? Oh, yo. I mean, these right here, son, these Louis Vuitton. I got these, pick these up. I got this Louis bag, and I got. That's what we doing. That's what we doing. We distracting ourselves with our own indebtedness. I ain't worried no more. That's what we doing. Or we doing TikTok challenges. Right? So the flip side, you got a church, over that church, they let people dress however they want to dress. And they got all them gay folk in there. They going to hell. They ain't talking about the fact we studying banned books. You see how sick this is? Oh, forget that. That don't mean nothing. Feeding, what? They more concerned about what we wearing in here than who being fed by us. And they call themselves Christian. This is crazy. This is insane. And we got to be able to call this out. And then the flip side is we can't say too much because they might cancel us. And then it'd be like, yo, Deshaun lost 5,000 followers because of what he said. I can't have that. This is insane. And we feed into it every day in small ways. We critique the absurdity that we participate in. We mad about it. Be in trouble until we realize. And now, it doesn't mean that we all doomed. Because history doesn't tell us we all got to be unified to be free. I close on this. Remember, the Jesus movement, it's in the book. He said, them 12 men, they've turned the world upside down. It's possible to change this culture, but you can't shun small beginnings. You can't shun that. The most radical thing we could do is on the mornings we feed those kids. There's nothing more radical than that. And yet, we still got beg folk to come feed. That's one of the most radical things you could do. One of the most radical things you could do is when somebody is cold, give them a coat. Right? The most radical thing you could do is take someone who has a dream about having a business and then put them in a business incubator and help them give birth to their dreams. They don't talk about that though. Oh, don't let me get started there. The normalization of psychosis in our community, unaddressed. But we sit around here talking about what they wearing. This is what we do. We don't want to admit that we got PhDs in pettiness. We don't want to admit that. We want to sit around like that there's not sickness that hits all of us. There's so much work to be done, but we're fighting against, forget fighting against the system, we're fighting against ourselves. And some of us, in the words of Baldwin, are doing it in the name of religion. Destroying one another in the name of religion. Killing ourselves in the name of religion. And when I say killing, I mean that if you say the power of life and death is in your mouth, well then you killing folk. But the same mouth that can kill can also give life. So choose life then. Speak life. Why we rather sit around here and gossip about the next juiciest thing? Ooh, let me tell you what I heard. What? If you are not contributing to my betterment, shut up. If you are not enhancing my life, keep it to yourself. But not some of us. We love to be, in the Bible says, tale bearers. Do you understand? There's so many layers to this. So many layers to this. That's why, let me tell you, that's why the sanctuary ain't packed on Tuesdays. Well, now we say, well, Pastor, people streaming. Yeah, that's true. But you ain't streamed the party Friday. You ain't like, let me get the video footage of it. You was like, let me go. Man, let me stop and get out of here. Y'all got me out here. About to go off of my folk. But really, that's what it is. When you look at Baldwin's book, especially the first part of section 2, he's critiquing how religion is used as an escape, but is also used as a tool of oppression. We run to it thinking we're doing the good work. I'm getting saved. I'm in the church. And so we criticize those who are not in the church, not realizing how the church is reinforcing the stereotypes and the oppressive structures that keep us in a certain space. We're not questioning because we say you don't question God. Well, we ain't questioning God. We question the idiots who think they speaking for God. So don't think because it's under some guise of religion or church, it ain't flawed. No, it's actually destructive in many places. You got people walking around. I already told you the example of the pastor who made that statement. His video went viral because he was up there talking about, I ain't gonna let no white man talk about my sister Kamala that way. And he went in, can't no white man, blah, 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 blah. And the same preacher don't believe that women can preach. So you're going to defend her for running for president, but you believe she could be president, but she sure can't stand in your pulpit and preach? You know how inconsistent that is? And we went viral. We celebrating this. Somebody sent me the video, and I saw, I ain't going to call no names, and they was like, oh, Bear, you saw this? This brother took a stand. I'm supporting my sisters, yeah, until they ask you, can they preach? So I don't go for your sitting in the pulpit, posturing, being an ally to black women, and performing on cue, but you don't let no woman be a deacon or preach? Well, get out of here. It's that kind of charade we playing across this country. There are churches right now, to this day, and they ain't all in the South neither. They ain't have no woman lead nothing. No woman preach. When I started a church in North Carolina in 1996, my wife got licensed in 1998. When she preached, there were a whole group of people who would stand up and walk out the church when she preached. But do you then get mad, right? Watch this. Do you get mad and do you say, oh, where y'all going? I can't believe y'all walking out on my wife. Because see, that's the fight you would fight. Watch this. What do you do in the place of that? Do you sit there and call them out? You get into a back and forth with them? Let them walk out. Every time she got up to preach, they got up and walked out. I ain't say nothing. I did get rid of some of them from being deacons. But what do you do in that case? Jesus said, they who have ears, let them hear. You teach. You teach. You teach them about their ignorance. You teach them how what they're doing is not connected to nothing in the Bible. You teach them how they're reinforcing oppressive structures that have kept them down. You teach for 8 years. You teach. You teach for your life. You teach the way that you feel Jesus would have taught. And you teach that. You teach the way of the carpenter. 8 years, you don't stop teaching. In the midst of people walking out and talking about her and talking about me, and I had, when she got licensed, Deacon said, some people wondering if you could really license your wife because technically she's not a member of the church. What? I said, who said that? Ain't nobody say nothing because I'll be like, what? 8 years you teach, and you know what happens in 8 years when you teach? That when you leave the church and you recommend a woman, they vote her as the pastor. So should I celebrate that when the deacons walked out, I went off on them? Or do I look at them same ones, some who walked out, now came back to the church led by a woman? You teach. You teach. And you watch. And you trust that teaching. Because some people act a certain way because ain't nobody teach them. Different. You don't meet ignorance with anger, you meet ignorance with education. Let me teach you. That's what you do. Because there's some fights I ain't going to invest in. But if you keep coming around me, you're going to mess around and learn something. You keep showing up, you're going to mess around and learn something. That's it. That's what we got to do. I got righteous indignation. I'm mad like anybody else. I get that. But in the midst of that, when everybody moving, we got this person, an activist, and this person, I simply ask people, when people ask me, I said, and I had these conversations with many people. Even had conversations with Christina back there. I'd be like, well, all these folk that you love and all these activists, tell me what they built. What have they built? Oh, my bad. They built their platform. They're now influencers. They've learned to monetize themselves. But you ain't built nothing for my people. Why you getting your money and you getting your money off of the lives? See, look, when you profiting off of the plight of your people, and you sitting there getting paid because you've engaged in a sloganization of people's pain, and you getting paid, and now all of a sudden they find out when they go see where the money went, you done bought mansions off of the backs of dead bodies in the street. What have you built? Where can your people go that you built something? And there was a time when we built stuff that changed the community. I wish to God every church had a Hope Center, because we would have a waiting list of 130 people. I wish to God everybody did a Dream Center. I go on and on. What have you built that impacts your people? Not what you taught me to death about. Ain't nobody motivated by your talk, which you got kids right next to you hungry? Who you fed? Who can look at you and say, I remember Brother Benjamin, because I remember those mornings I came to the church, you gave me those bags for breakfast. Or, like we had the student who was a child coming to breakfast for books, who now got a law degree and can come back and say, thank y'all. Because when me and my mom was in the shelter and I had no food in the morning, I stopped by that church in that back. What have you built for your folk, man? Because let me tell you something. Your one-liners and your comments in Instagram ain't fed nobody yet. What are you doing? And everybody got an opinion, but everybody ain't willing to sweat for their people. What are you doing? That's how you measure it. All of a sudden, there was a period, we building churches, we building schools, we building institutions. Now we building our pages on social media. And where we building? When the last college we built? In my lifetime, I saw a college built. Know the name of that college? Now University. Liberty University. Started as a Bible college. Jerry Falwell, Virginia. Lynchburg. Whoa. I saw in my lifetime a church build a small school that is now a tier 1 research university. In my lifetime, started as a Bible college. Now you got people in Liberty Law School, PhDs from Liberty University, all that. In my lifetime, I ain't had to go back to 1867 for Morehouse College. In my lifetime, I saw it done. Why we stop building? Why we stop investing? No, we ain't go back to sleep. You act like we was up. What you talking about? Went back to sleep. You know what happened to us? You know what happened to us? I like your analogy, went back to sleep. Unfortunately, and that's my last word, we get out of here because we be here till 12 o'clock. Unfortunately, in my lifetime, I've had numerous surgeries, unfortunately. And I facetiously have said, you know, every time I'm in the OR for another procedure, I look at the doctor, Jerron, be like, smiling. They be like, when I had my gallbladder removed 2022, I was like, oh, I'm about to get some good sleep. Because they ain't like when you, right? But watch this. The question is not whether we asleep. That ain't the question. The question really is, what's the anesthetic they used? That's the real question. What I mean by that, you've had an operation? When you lay in that hospital bed and you getting ready to go under the knife and give you an IV, and some anesthesists say, well, you about to get the white milk. And the wisdom teeth don't count. I'm talking about when y'all, those of you who had surgery know, they be like, go ahead and count backwards from 10. He be like, 10, 7. That's how quick it worked. And you gone. Watch this. When you're under anesthesia, you've effectively died because you're not conscious, watch this, of what is happening around you. You can go in one room and wake up in another room and you don't know how the movement took place. All you know is that when you were here before you slept, you were somewhere else when you woke up. That's anesthesia. There's many anesthetics in our culture that put us to sleep, oh God, when we try to count backwards. We don't understand. There's a bunch of them all over that the intention is to put you to sleep. That's why they spent so much time trying to kill woke. But you were crazy to sloganize your situation. We woke. We woke? How you woke? And there's still hungry kids on your block, but you woke. There's still unhoused people on your corner, but you woke. Your schools in your community have unequitable access to learning materials, but you woke? Why? Because you said it? Because you marched? You woke? And you let them co-opt your language to use it now, weaponize your language to make you feel guilty about using it? That's an old tactic. And now here you go. We're going to get rid of all woke politics. This is insane. This is insane. And we sitting around watching this. And we watching it. Some people participating in oppression. Some people playing oppression politics. Some people watching from the sidelines. Some people think that they don't apply to them because they've arrived, because they thought that their wealth and their education could protect them. Malcolm said, what do you call a black man with a PhD? Still call him a nigga. Are you kidding me? Like, you know how serious it is? We don't even understand the nature of the fight because they always, watch this, they kicking you pow, punching you pow over here. But over here, where they drawing your eyes, you're like, oh yeah, yeah, I want to get that $32 million house. Yeah. They got you looking here while they're destroying you over here, but you can't see the destruction because they've anesthetized you with materialism. It's the game, man. And they've been playing it really good because they've been practicing it for a long time. Problem is, we got to peep the game. Not peep it to repeat it, but peep it to destroy it. Because, man, some people don't want to share that their secret truth is to be liked and to be like. Oh, you can catch that. To be liked and to be like. So what do? We take seriously these last words. For real. Because y'all see this, I keep here. I got an early flight I got to catch tomorrow to go to Atlanta, because Thursday they unveiling this portrait of me at Morehouse. And I said to myself, I'm going to get out here at 8:30. I knew that. I thought I was going to stick to that. It was good. And here's the thing. One day, we won't see it yet, but some of us see it. Robin, you see it. Some of us see it. Know where I see this? This thing that gives me this hope, because you don't need a lot. I said to something, all you need is a spark. A little bit. That's why Jesus said, like he said, size of them, you don't need a lot. You just need a little sign. One little sign. I don't need a lot of hopeful signs. I just need one. And there's this little baby. My girl, what was her name again? Sydney. And her dad on Sunday, when I came in, had Sydney in the front. Sydney is the one I played that week when she said, we live, we love, we serve. And he said to me, Sydney learned another part of the identity statement. And how old is Sydney? Sydney will be 3 in May. Now, let me help you understand. And I promise I'm leaving for real. Sydney is why every week we get up there and say, we are an ever-evolving community of visionary dreamers and doers. We're called by God to live the lives we're created to live, commanded by God to love beyond the limits of our prejudices, and commissioned by God to serve. And at not even 3, Sydney's learning parts of this, right? And Sydney gonna be in church and she gonna hear people, and I'm the embodiment of infinite possibilities. I am a love revolutionary. I'm powerful, unshakable, adaptable. I'm the dawn and the dark. Okay, let me keep it rolling. So when you get your child dedicated, you get that little gift bottle, are affirmations from this church. You see, you gotta have a wraparound approach. You gotta hit them from all sides, linguistically. Because now Sydney is being celebrated for learning affirmations. And she ain't 3 yet. If they keep coming and Sydney keep listening, like the sister in college who did a paper on live, love, serve. She got a C, but I told her you got an A from me. The fact you did a paper in church about for school about the identity statement of your church, that's the hope. Or Sydney learning, taking pride in trying to learn different parts of this statement. But she gonna get it because she keeps showing up. You see, what would it have been like for us as children if we had affirmations spoken to us every week in church? What if we heard that stuff? Well, it can work on us. But see that Sydney and the countless children in here like that, who walk around talking about we live, we love, we serve. By the way, those are our core values. So what I'm giving that child are core values, and if she keeps coming till she gets older, she understands it. So you will be hard pressed to tell Sydney who she is when she's been hearing all her life who she is. That's the strategy. This ain't just because I like to hear the repetition of the same thing. The more you repeat it, the more you begin to believe it. And when you memorize it, you commit it to heart. Now the next key, Lisa, is to then get you to not just say it on Sunday, but the next time you feel uncomfortable about speaking in front of a camera, you say, wait a minute, I'm the embodiment of infinite possibility. Why should I be afraid to stand in front of this camera? I'm powerful, unshakable, and adaptable. See, you got the tools already to overcome your fear. You say it every week. Or when you say something like, tell me your name, brother. Tariq. I don't know if I like Tariq. I don't like his hoodie. And then here come Pastor Mike. We commanded to love beyond the limits of our prejudices. Or you sitting around here and you think that the whole life is supposed to be a resort where everybody tending to your needs. And to you, that's success. Success is when you take all that you got and then use it as a tool to pick somebody up. And then here you come. Why are you always trying to help somebody? Why are you always trying to give your time? Because somewhere along the line, I learned that God had commissioned me to serve. You see? Oh, you thought it was accidental? When you saw them little signs up outside and on the staircase, be human and live, love, serve, and out there, live, love, serve, and you go downstairs, you go up to the fellowship hall, be human, sitting up there. That ain't because we need decoration. It's how we learn. That is how we learn. That's intentional. I know it works. That's intentional. Now the next phase is to get you to use the tools you already got. You got a lifetime of words that can free your mind. And why is that important? Eternal life is not a destination, it's the ideas in your head. That's eternal life. Huh? I'll say this. For real, we leaving for real, right? Let me tell you something. When I was in that hospital, and I was going through all kind of stuff after that stroke, and I was sitting there like, you mean I might not be able to talk properly again? I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm 46 at the time. How am I gonna do this? And I was like, nah, man, I was like, nah, I know too much. I know too much. I ain't giving into this. See, what people call miracle may be your desire to fight. We're used to so many people quit, and when you see somebody fight, you call it a miracle. Now, I call it tenacity and strength. Man, I know what my mother went through to get to this country. I know what I went through to be alive. I ain't gonna let this take me out. Now, one day, just to all those who know, I shared something. One of my good friends, Darren John, Pastor Johns, was preached here a bunch of times. And one year for my anniversary, after I was sick, we had the shirts. If you remember, Z, undefeated. Man, I walked in and saw them shirts, almost ran. I was like, Lord, because it was based on a story I told. My anniversary, everybody had these shirts, undefeated. But when the origin of that story, so let me tell you the origin, in case you don't know, we had them undefeated shirts. My friend was on the phone with me after my stroke. And he was like, bruh, like you good, like you back, you talking. He said to me, man, here go my pessimism, right? He said, man, like at the end of the day, we just gonna tell you, right, you undefeated. All the things you went through, survived, you undefeated. Here I go, well, one day I'm gonna lose though, which is true. There's gonna come a day we're gonna leave this place. And so I thought I had given him the answer to chill, bro. I'm gonna lose one day. And then he hit me with the line that shook me and shaped me at the same time. He said, yeah, Mike, that's true, but even the day you lose, you're gonna leave with a winning record. I was like, You was 3,684 and 1. So we gonna sit here and give that one all the credit? Or the 3,684 times? Nah, That's for anybody. You gonna sit around and harp on that loss or focus on the wins? It's so easy to focus on the losses. It's so easy to focus when things don't work. That's why I said, I had a man from the church in LA, and I shared that story. I called to check on the LA folk on the fires. He said to me, Pastor, my house is gone. Now, I've been to the brother's house. This is a nice house in Sherman Oaks, a big house on the hill. And he said it was gone. In the same text message, he said, but you know what, we're gonna rebuild. He said, but at the end of the day, Pastor, he said, we woke up this morning. What? That man, I was like, you're right. We did wake up this morning. We woke up this morning. 2 weeks later, I go down to LA to preach for the service. He was in the audience. I didn't say who it was. I shared his story. Folk was in. I said, we woke up this morning. I don't care what you could find wrong with yesterday. You woke up today. Right? Woke up this morning. And so after the service, he comes down, and I was like, brother, use the inspiration for this sermon. And he's like, yeah. He said, there's another part to the story. I said, what's that? He said, it was my neighbor who told me my house burnt down because I couldn't get to where the house was. And my neighbor who was down the street was looking down where my house was, but she couldn't actually see my house because the two houses on either side were being burnt down. She couldn't see my house, so she assumed. So that when we went last week to go see what was left, my house was still standing. And I said, what? He said, we didn't lose anything. And I said, I wonder how connected that was to your statement of we'll rebuild and we lost everything. This is what he said in the text. He said, I'm gonna close on his text. So, people think you be saying stuff. I'm gonna read his exact text, and this is gonna be our prayer for the night. We out. This is gonna be our prayer. I'm sorry to keep y'all here this long, but apparently y'all like it. Y'all ain't going nowhere. Z said, we here, player. So let me, hold on. Let me get this, because y'all gonna, here it is, hold on. We're gonna end it with this, because I gotta get this story out. Hold on. You gotta go back to look for this stuff. Oh, here it is, hold on. Boom. Oh, where is this? Oh, here it is. This is the text message. I reached out to him. I couldn't reach him to check on him. He says, I said, good morning. This is what I said on January 9th. I said, good morning. I called last night, but it went straight to voicemail. I just spoke with Pastor Des, and she told me everything. Said he lost his house. I'm praying for you all. If there's anything we can do, please don't hesitate to let us know. I'll be in LA next week. I hope to see you. Much love to you and your wife, my friend. Thanks so much, Pastor Mike. We truly appreciate you checking in. It means everything. We evacuated yesterday. We are heartbroken for LA. The fire may have taken our property and memories, but it will never destroy our resolve and optimism. We will rebuild stronger. We serve a living God, and we woke up this morning. That was it. That was it. By the time I got there, he found out the house was still standing. Sometimes our faith is stronger than we know. He had not been in the house a year. We talking about a multi-million-dollar house. And he said, we'll rebuild. This won't kill our resolve or our optimism. We woke up this morning. See, that's what your faith is supposed to do. Your faith, your trust, and your belief changes your perception of reality. You crying because you thought I lost a house. I'm celebrating because I woke up this morning. We could get another house. I can't get another me. That's it. That's it. God bless y'all. Have a good remainder of the night. Please stop me when y'all see me going like this. I got to go home. And yeah, I need to sleep, Mary. What you doing? Thank you. And I get somebody to take pictures. We'll post them on Sunday.